I don't know who was first here, but we'll go with the ladies first, and we'll go with Mr. Johnson. Young lady from Vermont is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to associate myself with the remarks of my colleague from Pennsylvania. I'm very concerned about the extent to which the Office of Civil Rights at the DOJ has been sidelined and underfunded. And Americans do not like what they are seeing on their TV screens. They do not like it. YouGov poll that came out in the last 48 hours showing a majority of Americans disapprove of the way that ICE is conducting itself, and they do not want this to continue. They feel like it is an attack on their civil rights, and rightly so. I also want to talk about the fact that it's very difficult to sit here and take seriously any efforts regarding going after fraud from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle when one of the first things that President Trump did when he was sworn in is he went after the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, an agency that is independent, and its goal is to protect U.S. consumers. That's literally its mission. And at the beginning of his second term, Trump appointed an acting director who directed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to stop any regulatory activity and moved to fire 90% of the agency's staff. The staff that was literally standing up for Americans who had been victims of fraud and had returned $21 billion back to consumers who had been ripped off. And so we have an independent agency that was doing the work of protecting Americans from fraud, and this president decided to go after pretty much the one agency that was going to bat for all of us, preventing people from ripping us off from credit card companies, ripping us off from financial institutions and banks. So I don't know.
Will the gentlelady yield?
I certainly will. I yield to the ranking member.
It's such an excellent point you're making that they targeted the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was all about combating fraud against American consumers. But you could add to that that they sacked 17 inspector generals in all of the federal agencies whose precise job it is to ferret out waste, fraud, and abuse.
I'm so glad, Mr. Ranking Member, that you brought that up. That's exactly right. When you sideline the people, the inspectors general, whose job it is to do oversight, to ferret out fraud, and you prevent them from doing their jobs, how can we sit here and say that we're actually doing something to fight fraud? It makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't pass the straight face test. And it's difficult for us, day in and day out. I feel like we come in here and we have to exist in some kind of upside down land. And people want us to forget the stuff that happened just a year ago from this administration who came in gangbusters, preventing us from doing the things to protect our constituents from fraud. And then we sit here and we are asked to forget all of that. And I want to just be on the record today that what happened to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was a travesty. It was an agency that was sticking up for all of us, and it has now been hollowed out. And I don't know how you can sit here and say that you're fighting fraud when that is what has happened. Mr. Ranking Member, do you need more time?
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, what we've seen from the beginning of the administration, a dismantling of the infrastructure that is designed to combat foreign corruption, fraud. They took down the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and said that they wouldn't enforce that any further. There's been a dismantling of the governmental infrastructure against fraud and corruption. So now, essentially, they want to take all of these crimes whose prosecution and whose investigation they've neutered in the government, and then suddenly revive attention to it simply through the immigrants and the immigration system. And I think it's a pathetic way for them to proceed, and I appreciate your yielding to me.
And I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentlelady from Wyoming is recognized.